Hello, I'm Mike Ryan. I'm the Chief Networking Officer at PIMS, and welcome to our second season of Minutes with Mike. Now in my 33rd year at PIMS, I've had the privilege of partnering with companies both large and small, supporting their PR and marketing through customized fulfillment and distribution that delivers measurable impact on their brand perception, boosts positive affinity, and fuels their overall brand performance. And throughout my career, I've had the chance to work alongside many talented folks. This is their story. On this show, we'll sit down with some of the world's top marketing and business thought leaders to learn more about their success, how they got there, how marketing helped them achieve their goals, what strategies they used, and what inspires them. Please join me on this journey as we learn from those who are changing the way we think about business. So sit back, enjoy. You're listening to Minutes with Mike. Welcome everybody to Minutes with Mike. Today's episode is a special one. I'm Mike, of course, Mike Ryan, and with me today is my special guest, Abby Wallach, as well as Alfonsina Messina, my colleague here at PIMS. Abby, we met briefly at Beauty Matter. I talked to you for 5 minutes, and I found Alfonsina, and she told me that she's known you for years. And I was like, I'm obsessed with her already. And she's like, wait till you hear the story. And I'm like, well, save the story. Tell me the quick, because I want to get this on the podcast. So thank you so much for joining us.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting, and I love to meet new people, and Alfonsina and I go way back. She's a dear friend, and I've always been a fan of hers as she has been of mine and my wild and crazy innovations in media and in the beauty and fragrance industry. So if I were to take you back on my journey, that you want me to go all the way back? Okay, well, we have something in common, Madeline DeVries, which...
she had started her career at a PR agency. Back then it was Madeline DeVries, now it's DeVries Global, I believe.
Yes.
The woman who was the founder of this agency was Madeline DeVries herself. And I was lucky enough to meet her one time in an elevator, and I was telling Abby, I said, she was so larger than life with the big hat and the dark glasses and the purse. And I was like hitting the elevator button, petrified to turn around. I was maybe 21 or 22, but...
And it's exactly the same thing. And I walked in here today with my big hat and my big sunglasses, and I could have pretended I was Madeline today. But that is so funny. But to take you back on that journey, so that was my first job out of college. But as a little girl, I always had a dream that I would make makeup and lotions and potions, and that I would be in the beauty and fragrance industry, that I would have my own beauty empire. So I admired the likes of the Coco Chanels and the Estee Lauders and the Helena Rubinsteins, and back then that was what I was hopeful to get a job in one of those companies, but it didn't exactly work out that way for me. So my very first job was at Madeline DeVries. I was an account executive. I worked on Procter & Gamble's Beauty Care Council. My first press release was how to make your best first impression. And I interviewed Letitia Baldridge. You do not forget this. She was Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis's press secretary. And from there, I started planning live events at the World Financial Center. Back then it had just opened. And my big win at Madeline DeVries was when my account executive, I was the assistant. I didn't know how to type. I didn't know how to do very much. But I'll tell you what I knew how to do. I knew how to plan a great party. Because my family was in the catering business, and that was a part of my core. I came from a long line of female entrepreneurs, and on the retail side and on the party planning side. So I was very proud of that legacy. So when my account executive said she was having the baby, she was pregnant, and all of a sudden I got pulled in, and they said, "You're up." And I knew this was my moment, this was my chance. I planned a kick-ass, gorgeous event. I think it was for Calca-Flor at Bergdorf Goodman. All the beauty editors came, and this was a real moment for me because I was, just 21 years old, but I wanted to be in fragrance so badly. And here I am at the Jewel Box, right, Bergdorf Goodman, planning this beautiful event. And I have to say, it went off without a hitch. And the boss sent me the most magnificent, I don't remember her name, the most magnificent flowers. So I felt very proud that I actually, because I couldn't type and do all the other things they needed a typical assistant would do, I at least was able to pull something off in a very prestigious place that made everybody look good. So I was very proud of that. And then somehow they moved me off into the special events arena, and ultimately I got fired from that job. But that, it wasn't my fault. You know, there's a new book out. It's called For All the Cool Girls That Got Fired. And if you haven't been fired, you haven't lived, right?
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical.
But I wasn't fired. And, you know, my whole story, it's always about people. It's always about the people you meet, because the guy that hired me at Madeline DeVries, I had met previously when he was the account executive at a very big firm, and he became my boss. So I already had this relationship. His name was David, and he really ushered my career at that early time, and then the division closed. So I didn't do anything catastrophic to get fired, but the division closed, and it was time for me to move on. And next thing I knew, I was working for the Moscow Circus and the Ninja Turtles, and I was in a rock and roll office with Joan Jett and all these wild people, and that was where my career took a pivot into entertainment and media. So that was a really cool start to my journey in marketing and touring around the country. I learned so much and put that knowledge of PR from the Madeline DeVries days into this touring kind of cool gig.
You know, we often have this conversation internally here at PIMS, like what's more difficult about today? What's easier about today with the internet and AI and all this stuff? Does it make your job harder or easier? Are the expectations higher? Is the bar set higher? And as you're speaking, it reminds me of those old days, right? Like, certainly we didn't have AI, we didn't have the internet, you know, there was no cell phones, but a little biased here. It was simpler, but a little bit more hustle involved, right? Like, you leave DeVries, you probably didn't know at that point where you were going or what you were doing. You had a dream, but to get from here to there was a fair amount of hustle, right? And that journey. So go ahead and get to that next.
Always about learning, right? And how you're going to leverage your skill set from one job to the next, and that's your life, right? And how you pull from that toolbox, right? As a producer, you specifically do that. But anyway, I did that for about 2 years, and then I got a fantastic job at Showtime Networks. I was head of live events, so I worked in every genre of programming, from boxing to comedy to children's entertainment to movies, film, and worked with everyone in the industry. So I got a big job, but the job that I wanted that job actually, but that job I wanted in beauty. And I ended up in entertainment. So you see, you can't plan it.
And then I realized you started with beauty, then went into media entertainment, and now you're coming back full circle back to beauty.
Yeah, it always comes full circle.
Right.
I never left. Well, and it really is the story, right? And that's why I love to share my story, because I really hope that the value is in sharing my information, my wisdom, my hard knocks, my ups and downs, to inspire the next generation and even our generation. You know, we all have stories to tell. Mine is not a traditional journey. From Showtime, I ended up, and this is a great story, I was in the bathroom pitching a TV show at MTV, and I hear, "Abby, what are you doing here?" And it was Gladys Niederlander, a huge socialite, married to Bob Niederlander, owner of all the theaters in New York. And I said, "Oh, I'm moving to California tomorrow. I'm, looking for my next gig. I'm gonna, I was an executive producer. I have shows. I want to go pitch and sell them." She's like, "Show up tomorrow in my office." And I did. And the next day, I became her executive producer out in Hollywood. And
your flight.
What? Exactly. I mean, and it was just like, go. And this is what she did. She said, "Here's a stack of scripts. Read the scripts. Here's my Rolodex." Remember Rolodex? "Here's my Rolodex of talent. Here are the agents. Here are the managers. Go." Nobody ever told me what to do. I just figured it out. That's also a very entrepreneurial skill set. There is no roadmap. And there really is no roadmap for anything. You could take bits and pieces, but there was no roadmap. So I had this creative directory, started circling every name in the book who I wanted to see. I tried to get into Sherry Lansing. I would see all the big famous studio people because I had shows that I was going to sell, and they were very well-written scripts, and some of them were famous authors, like Mary Higgins Clark. And anyway, that was a very, very exciting time in my career that I loved very much, but not what I had expected and not what I had planned for. So bringing it back to how did I get where I am today? I basically ended up back in media, but I said, I didn't sell any big shows out in Hollywood. Maybe I'll just go start my own. And I partnered with a beauty editor out of InStyle magazine. Her name's Melissa Fedor. She was my soulmate and my partner for 17 years. She's still a dear friend. We created a brand called BeautifulStranger.tv. And people would say, what's up with the TV? I said, well, it's TV on the internet. It really makes sense. And people thought I had 8 heads. They did not know where I came from, what I was talking about, but Melissa created this amazing article in InStyle, 135 best beauty buys. So you would tear out the page and circle the coolest products that the celebrity experts would talk about. So that was the impetus behind Beautiful Stranger. TV, editorial, and shopping content, driving commerce around a community of fashion influencers and insiders. This was a long time ago, but it is the precursor to what it is today. So we were early pioneers. We were YouTube's first partner. We were building things on the internet, everyone from the Chantakais to Bobby Brown to Frederick Fekkai, to everyone in the industry, the beauty industry specifically, because Melissa was the beauty editor, came on to the show. And we would literally take a camera crew. I had a huge camera crew, would run around the street with mics and say, we were like Bill Cunningham on steroids. 2 girls, it was wild, so much fun. And then we would get back to our studio. We had an office out of IMG, and we would make those little snippets, 20-second spots. Everyone said, Abby, shut down the video. Don't do the video, 20 seconds. Nobody would listen to me. What are we today? What do you think TikTok is? So, a true pioneer, a true entrepreneur, someone who really, really deeply believes in their vision, they really don't care what anybody says, and they will continue at all pursuits until they get there. Because people always say, how do you do what you do? How do you innovate? There is no path. You are what you are. You are a human who has big ideas, who believes wholeheartedly, and then you have to take the appropriate path to do the focus groups and do all those things. But anyway, fast forward after Beautiful Stranger for about 15 years, front page of the Wall Street Journal, all that good stuff. I said, wouldn't it be great if maybe I could move into the product world? I worked with all these amazing beauty innovators and experts. I mean, what a better format and platform did I have than to learn from those amazing people? Because we were selling their stuff on the internet. It was back a long time ago. So fast forward, I said to my friend who was out of Clarence, Caroline, wouldn't it be great if we could reimagine the future fragrance and just put it in a palette and make it look like candy? And she's like, what are you talking about? So she came to my kitchen. I pulled out every compact, every makeup, every eyeshadow, everything I had. And I said, this is it. This is the future fragrance 10 years ago. So she's had a chemist. We went to see her chemist. He's like, that's an interesting idea. chemists are a little what's the word? Interesting, kooky, but that's why they're geniuses. And he's like, wow, I have a this, and I have this could be a primer. And Caroline's like, oh, this could be a primer, and you put it on your skin, maybe every fragrance could last longer. So these are the stories that I tell, because this is really how it happened, and how, we got from an idea to a product, and then to launch, distribution, and scale. So it's definitely not an easy journey. The creation is a very small piece. It takes years and years and years to develop, and the world has changed too. So that's how I ended up in my own fragrance innovation company after a full career in media and entertainment.
Go ahead.
No, and when we met, Beautiful Strangers was still part of your world.
Yes.
And I remember clearly having a conversation on how you love to meet all these beautiful strangers along the way, because that helps you continue to be creative and innovative and to keep drawing upon the next step and moving forward. And now that Beautiful Strangers is kind of past you in a certain degree, how do you keep your creativity, your innovation?
Okay, it's not over, because like any producer, you're always bringing it back. What I learned through Beautiful Stranger, there were certain things. I wanted to build a media company that somebody would ultimately acquire. That never happened. But what I did do is I created a media platform that really helped usher in this new form of content and interview, from the coolest people on the street to some of the biggest executives in the industry. So that gave me a lot of insight and intelligence in the industry, and I would ask pertinent questions. But those questions were really more about them as people. They really weren't about the businesses they were in, and we would go where we were led. So if somebody was a literary agent and we met them on the street and they had a great look, my typical question, well, what are you reading and why are you reading it and what's hot in the industry? So it's always about the line of questioning, but your specific question about how do I draw my inspiration today, inspiration can come from anywhere. It can come from anyone, a flower, it could come from a person you see on the subway, it could come from a song that's new. I see things in 3D and color that don't exist. It's part of just who I am and what I gravitate to, because I'm curious. As a child, I was very curious. I used to walk around with a little box of jewelry and product, and that was my little treasure box. So I've never let go of that true, authentic, childlike wonder in the world, because I love to learn. And learning can come from anywhere. It can come from a child. It can come from, I was just with a little kid the other day. I have the best time with kids. I watched a little girl open there's this hot new thing called the burrito. It's like this little toy. I'm like, why didn't I do that little burrito? I mean, I would never have. I could have come up, I had a toy business too. But it's just that sense. It's not that I know a lot, but it's a sense of wanting to be curious in the world and how I see the world on a day-to-day. And yeah, it really is. And I can find inspiration in many things. I also like when I'm alone and in my yoga and things that bring me down, bring me quiet. My quiet time is great. Be the shower, big ideas in the shower. Like, oh my God, I have to leave the shower and write things down when you're dreaming. Because sometimes the creative mind is so busy during the day that you don't have time to let the ideas flow. And then when you stop thinking, and you stop talking, and you stop doom scrolling, like doing all those things that are not good for you, that's when the magic happens. And I believe in the magic.
I was looking at your website earlier today, and right on the main page there is that sort of about section that tells the story of how you and your partner were friends for 15 years and you created Scentinvent.
Yes.
Maybe you can tell us what sort of brought that to the...
Yeah, so that was the story that I was sharing, how I brought all those palettes and things out into my kitchen, and we literally went off to see her chemist to see if there was something here, and we started it in 2015 and started developing. She's a skincare expert out of Clarence, Prada, Lancome. Her name's Caroline. And we just started inventing, and that process took a very, very long time because it was a new idea to reimagine fragrance. Because remember, we're going back to my original story. I loved fragrance as a child. I would sit at my grandmother's vanity. I would watch her get dolled up and look at all the fragrances. That was like, I aspired to be like my grandma. Both my grandmothers, they both had beautiful vanities and loved to get dressed up. And it was and I would play. I would swivel around on that was my happy place as a little girl. And when I had the good fortune to work with all the beauty industry experts and innovators on Beautiful Stranger, that sort of made me realize, well, I could do that. And then I don't know when that exact idea came to me for the candy. Oh, I do. It was Serafina. I loved candy when I was little. My father used to bring me boxes of candy because he was a caterer. So if there was stuff left, I wouldn't get like a pack. Imagine waking up to boxes of gum. Like, what a great, lucky, right? I was like, oh, so that idea of that surprise and delight, that joy that it brought me so much as a child, and it always did, like Fun Dip and Bubble Yum and all that stuff. I found gummy bears in a baggie at a store before it was a gummy bear in a box in a packet. That's the wonder. Oh, I just wandered across a store and there it was. So it's always being curious. But when I said to Caroline, wouldn't it be amazing if we could just create fragrance like candy, she saw that vision. And Sugarfina, which is a brilliant candy brand, it was little packets of candy. And it's all about marketing. I mean, you guys know better than anybody. You're the masters at marketing and packaging, and how do you bring it together for a brand that it lives in the world, but what are you going to do different? What are you going to do unique? So it's a similar mindset. You're creating something for a category, for a product, for a talent, and you're bringing it into the world to make it special, to speak to the consumer, the audience, the purchaser, the retailer. It's all the same stuff. Right. It's all just semantics.
Fragrance it seems to be everywhere nowadays. That always wasn't the case, right? So I've been reading a lot about, I read a statistic earlier that said that by 2030, The market will be over $73 billion in the fragrance world. It's becoming very she nowadays for every star in Hollywood to have their own fragrance brand. That seems to be a stepping stone towards making it just incredibly huge. I was curious because in that same article it mentioned that it's taken also a shift where it's really heavily focused now on Gen X and the millennials, or Gen Z, sorry, I'm Gen X, Gen Z and millennials versus, 10, 20, 30 years ago where it was more of a baby boomer thing.
Right.
Maybe you could talk a little bit to that, like what have you seen over the years and months of recent, how that's sort of shifted?
I think that the fragrance industry, I'm a fragrance aficionado. I love fragrance. There are groups of people who just love fragrance. One is called Sniffapalooza, and they do these amazing events. And, people love scent. And I think the way that fragrance has evolved, a lot evolved through COVID. The world was home. Scent is like your most important sense. You can smell something and it can take you back to your favorite vacation or to your grandmother's kitchen or to, a moment in time that really transports you. So I think that being around and being home, people started to make their homes much more scent-oriented with doing home fragrance and, beyond the typical big name CPG brands, people realized there was an opportunity to start to create product and leverage the beautiful fragrances that exist in different formats. Nest is a perfect brand to talk about. Laura did amazing things with her candles and then evolving into fragrance and diffusers and just continuing to expand the line, because here's what I know: when you love a scent, you will want it in every format. And that's where Scentinvent really shines, because we're not the actual fragrance. We create collections for private labels for people that will want fragrance, because we are fragrance experts as well. But any brand in the world that has scent can take all of our innovations and put it in a new form. So specifically, it can be a fragrance brand that exists at a very luxury level. It could be a product at the mass level, but it could also be scent that exists in a cream or in the air. I had a friend back in the day, she had this scent. I loved it so much. She wouldn't tell me what it was. And one day I was in her bathroom. I'm like, oh my God, is it this French thing that you're wearing that you spray in the bathroom? And it was. And right then and there, I knew from that moment on, God, I hope she's not listening, I knew that was a big idea. Okay, that's 25 years, more than 25 years ago. But that's the point. So, as the world's changed and more people are innovating and niche brands are coming to life and the big brands are having bigger distribution, there's so much access and opportunity. And with our formulas, it makes some of the very, very high-end fragrances more accessible and attainable. So it's never to take away from the beautiful bottle that exists, because I have 30 on my vanity, but it's to just add value, add an extension. And the other thing that's interesting, they don't just want one fragrance anymore. People want 5, they want 10, and because they want it in their bag. They want it like, it's a hot day, I want to smell like sunshine. It's like Demeter's a brand that we're working with, and they're amazing, and they're very excited about our formats and our interchangeable palette. And who wouldn't want sunshine and blue ocean and gin and tonic in the same palette? It's fragrance like beauty, but where it also becomes a new gesture, a new routine, and a new way of incorporating it into your daily lifestyle. So, I see everywhere you go into the retail stores, there's so much fragrance to choose from, and then how do you choose? And
how do you travel with it? Like you said, this is really simple stuff that you can just...
Well, that's a game changer. That changed when the airports changed. Like, you can't bring water. The other day, I had my water bottle. It's my favorite water bottle. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't want to give it away. And I had to go, this is so ridiculous, but I had to go out and around so I could keep my water bottle, because I like that water bottle. It's hard to find a good water bottle anyway. And it's very upsetting when you go through the airport and they take your stuff. You paid for that stuff. Even if you have a little bit, it goes in the garbage. So to really fit into the world where we exist, travel ready, on the go, make it small, take it with you in your bag, put it on all day long. hassle-free, no alcohol. None of our products have alcohol in them. We use specific diluents of fragrance, but it really is about accessibility for everybody at every level.
I wanted to get into your product, but I wanted to ask you a couple other quick things. First was about consumer behavior, right? So what's your take on DTC versus retail? In that same study I was reading, it said 65% of consumers in that fragrance world are buying stuff online.
Yes.
In my day, I probably said that 5 times already. You would go in, you would go into Macy's or Nordstrom, wherever you're shopping, and they would have the perfume people there. You would give it a spray, or somebody would suggest something, you throw it on there. Yeah, they have the little strips and stuff. Yeah. But now it seems that the consumer behavior shifted a little bit. Maybe you could talk a little bit to that.
Yeah, I think that today you have to be everywhere. You have to meet the consumer where they are in every industry, beauty, fashion, food. I mean, you really, because the way people shop, and this I learned in my beautiful stranger days, first it's always high-low, right? People that shop at the highest level also shop at the lowest level. They're looking for value. They may spend a certain amount of money on a beautiful bag, but they're gonna maybe spend a lot less on another item. So it's not really what you wear, it's how you wear it. One of my favorite fragrances I found in Las Vegas when I was like 45, I swear everybody would stop me. It was called Veluspa. It was a candle brand. People loved it. And to this day, my husband's like, whatever happened to that? Because they discontinued things. But consumer behavior has changed so much so because people aren't as loyal as they used to be, and they want diversity, and they want to try things, and they want value for their money. But if they want something really badly, they will save up for it. They will. But it's a different time, and I don't think a brand can just live in one medium. It has to be everywhere. So you have to be at every touch point. And retail is probably more important than ever. My first job, they wanted me to be remember the Limited?
Yes.
Remember the Limited Express? They wanted me to be a floor manager. And I had a job once in retail that I got fired from because I didn't know how to fold the sweater. It was called Benetton. And I'm like, I'm never doing that again. Meanwhile, where am I? I'm right in the middle of retail. But I'll tell you, my perspective has changed because I love to be in a store. I like to go into Walgreens. I like to go into CVS. And I love to be in Bergdorf Goodman and Neiman Marcus. I love to experience. I want to touch the fabric. I want to touch the product. I had the best time in duty free. I was coming back from Makeup Paris, which was off the charts. I had the best time. And these salespeople, and you know better than anybody, they work so hard. They don't just, yes, they care about the sale, but they care about touching and experiencing and having that one-on-one conversation. And that today, especially as a producer, and I love to produce big high-level events and productions and still interview people on the street because I ask questions. There's nothing more important or more valuable than that one-on-one conversation. Hands down, no matter what business you're in, no matter what you're selling, no matter what you do, one-on-one.
You posted something on LinkedIn where you were in a store.
I did.
I think you were in Paris, actually. Yeah. And you came across one of the salespeople on the floor and you showed them some innovations.
Shopping. I was in London visiting my 20-year-old who was living there at the time. We had a wonderful, quick weekend, and on my way I said, let me go into YSL. Do they have something that they don't have in New York? Like to find the unique item. And I was talking to these wonderful people, and I took my stuff out of my bag to put it in this little bag, and the woman said, what is that? So as a producer, always first, I whip up, I have this thing, and it's a perfume stick, and it's the first one in the world with skincare ingredients. We invented it in 2015. Let me see it. And the next thing I know, I'm having a party in the store with the salespeople, smelling my sticks. And would you buy it? Would you wear it? Do you want to see it? Because that, as a true entrepreneur, is really the best focus group you will ever get. These people don't know me. I mean, well, maybe I was going to buy a pocketbook, so they were going to be a little extra nice. But you can't think that people are that manipulative. I think that it was authentic, and that comes across in my way. Oh, what do you think? And you saw from the video. So I'm like, wait, stop, let me get my camera. And to me, that is the best focus group you can ever have by finding out what real people. You could do it with your whole office. You could bring them in, you'd see in 3 seconds, they would light up.
That's right.
And that's what fragrance does to people.
I don't know if you're on anybody's influencer list. You should be if you're not. If you're watching this and you don't have her on there, send her some product for sure. But I wanted to ask you about gifting programs and sampling.
Yeah.
You know, at PIMS, that's sort of the backbone of what we do. Thank you. Appreciate that. With TikTok and Instagram, we were talking about that a little bit earlier, it has exploded, and with TikTok Shop and people buying stuff online. And because of, you know, them wanting to sort of spread their wings and buy different things at different times in different sizes, how important is that influencer gifting, or that, you know, those sample programs that people put together to give people the idea of, hey, you know, this is our new fragrance that we're launching, or we've rebranded this fragrance, or that's gone away, but this is 2.0.
Right. I still think the gifting, I've done a lot of gifting suites too, where I've done product directly to influencers and stuff. I think there is nothing more important than getting your product into the hands of the consumer, tastemaker, influencer. I think it's critical to the business. I think it's fun. I think it opens avenues that it's a little hard to follow where it goes, but I think the value is great. You can't measure in a cost perspective, because unless it, you know, drives exorbitant sales because you handed something out on this day and you gave a code and it has to go on that day, and that's the only way I think to measure a hard ROI number. But in terms of seeding the market, in terms of marketing, in terms of reaching the right people, I think it is just as important as it's always been. It's even more valuable than ever. I think curation is critical. I think storytelling has always been at the core of this industry. I think meeting founders, I think meeting people behind the brands, that work in the brands, is very important. You know, this is an industry that has a heartbeat. Like, we make people look and feel good, right? And smell good. That's what our job is. That, at the end of the day, that's what I care about. I want anyone that meets me to feel good. They want to look good, I'll bring them to the best. My husband's a plastic surgeon. I know everybody in the business, you know, and I share my ideas. I find something new. There's a lot of stuff out there that you have to be careful of. But in terms of the curation of the gifting and the tastemakers, like my son is in the influencer business, and he's doing all these amazing what's he do? The events with the creators, and bringing the brands with the creators, and, you know, the sponsors. And I think it's really important. And he's so cute. He's my kid. I mean, I don't have to say that, but because I listen to him, and he has such a strong point of view, and he's trying to make a difference. He's trying to do something where he bridges the gap between the brands and the marketers and the tastemaker and the creator. And that creator, I mean, you know, I spent my career in entertainment. Those creators, they are really winning. They have a point of view, they have followings, they have communities, and it's content, commerce, community. I've said that for 25 years, always. It's always about the people, and that's where it stops. So the more you infiltrate, the more you work in those groups. It is a group, you know, even the beauty industry, like with your clients, like the CWs and the beauty men, they're all amazing. And every time I'm at any event, I'm always so happy. Not just because I get the great goodie bag. I mean, I love that, and I have the best time with it, and I learn a lot from it. I see what's out there. I test it, you know.
Started working with the CW, for example, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, and it was, you know, it was a nice group, but now you go to their beauty expo, and
it's really about the relationships. You know, you get to know people, and there aren't as many barriers to entry. But I remember when I was 21, I wanted to be in fragrance, and this really great guy, I told him, I met him at an event, and I said, I want to be in fragrance. And the next day, he dropped off a list of PR firms for me. I was 21. It was nice. He's still my friend. He's a big producer in Hollywood. And I always say to him, I'll never forget that doesn't exist like it did, you know. But now the young generation, they should be joining all of the groups, because that's where you meet people, that's where you learn, you know. And there's different levels that you could be a part of, just to be a part of it and see if it's what you want to do.
Well, that's where we met.
Right, that's right.
We met at a CW event.
That's
actually.
right.
And since then, you've been such a major influence for me.
Oh.
And I'm so motivating. And there was another post that you did on LinkedIn with...
Oh my God, I didn't know people really looked at my link. Holy cow. Who else is looking at that? I love it. It's good.
There was someone that you really influenced as well. That did a whole celebration on you, and how you empowered him, and how influential you've been. So that you've really come and touched a lot of people along the way. Who does that for you?
Oh, that's so sweet. Wow, that's a good one. A lot of people. I've been really, really fortunate to have, from my earliest childhood years, I had my grandmothers and my mother who were like my idols. My mom's 81. She looks like she's 65. She's great. We still talk beauty and do all that. But I've had so many amazing women and men throughout my journey. The people that have been on my advisory board, Pamela Baxter, Joyce Greenberg, Lois Herzica, they all have incredible expertise in different industries. Caroline Fabregas, my partner, who we always wanted to be in business together. Wendy Gottfried, who ran Saks Fifth Avenue. She was we're like a team. We've really powered this innovation up across the global industry. To Melissa. I could go on and on. Bonnie Beer, who's just such a dear friend, Margarita Origana. I could go on and on because they know, like Abby shows up, the party's going to start and she's not going to stop until she gets her deals done. And that's just, I don't know how everyone knows that.
Sustainability, right?
Yes.
So in the beauty world, it's really in all the different verticals we work in now, but in the beauty world, there are all new innovations coming around, like returnable containers and that sort of stuff. People are worried about the product in the bottle as well as the bottles themselves, and in our world, the cartons they go in. How has that affected sort of your insight when you talk to clients and prospective clients, and how do you educate them?
Yeah, I think the sustainability is huge. One of the things that we're really focused on, and I'll get more into the business of what I'm doing and how we're building it, sustainability is so important. I think that way now every day in my life. So, anything that's in my personal life always translates into my professional life. It just does. So if it's top of mind, I'm going to always be thinking about it for a customer or a brand or whoever I'm talking to. There's different types of plastics that you can use today. There's different products that you can use. Some are more sustainable, right down to the formulations that we use, to the molecules. I go into meetings sometimes with chemists and they're like, Abby, what do you do? And I'm like, I don't know, but I know an awful lot about what you do, and I don't know if I'm right, but it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. And it's really funny because I actually know, because I've been listening and I've been paving the way and going to these, the suppliers days and you name it, I'm there because I'm learning, and that's how you stay on the pulse. So, when it comes to, it all does come down to pricing also, though, because depending on the brand, some brands can't really afford to be super sustainable. So if I'm like, well, if you can't do the whole thing, at least do the top, or, figure out some kind of way. Have a refillable program. I'm really into refillables right now. I feel like that, for what I'm doing, and I'll show you. Refillable is huge. Come up with a master plan. My background is media, entertainment, and digital media, right? Everything starts with commerce on the internet. Have a program. Send back the components. The fashion industry is doing amazing things. So is the beauty industry. Everybody has to do their part to make life sustainable for us, for our children, for our planet, so we have a good, it's really sad and scary what's gone on, but I do try to adhere to the rules and listen to what's top of mind. Yeah.
Let's talk about this stuff you've brought us here.
Oh, wow.
Tell us about your products.
You want to hear about the products? All right, so we are in the B2B business. So like I shared, that we've invented this new form of fragrance. So what do I mean by that? We created a perfume stick. It was the original stick with skincare ingredients back in 2015. It launched as a brand, first on the internet, and that was the true testament to TikTok fame, because TikTok Shop wasn't even available. I'm always like before. It's like I never catch the wind. I'm like the precursor too. So if you could figure that out, how to get it when it's hot instead of me making it hot. Anyway, what happened on that scale of excitement and enthusiasm and joy and celebration was off the charts phenomenal. And that was because I built a community of young girls that went absolutely wild. And then the retailer came, and then we launched into 1,800 Walmart stores. We just did a program, which was really remarkable. That was a journey and a lesson unto itself. And that brand, as great as it was, it needed a little tweaking because it was just one product in 3 fragrances, and I thought, this is bigger than this. This should be all of the formats. How can I reimagine that? So I spent the past few years reimagining the brand to now bring it back out. So that's where that's out today, and what that looks like is this little perfume stick in gold, and it's called Sparty Scents, and the scents are about life celebrations. So imagine, like, you could buy the birthday scent or the Valentine's Day scent, or because I'm in the party business, right? Like, if I'm not partying, what's the point? We have to celebrate life, right? We have to celebrate life because we don't know what will be. So imagine here. So this is the stick. This is a shimmer version. It has 15% fragrance load. If you put it on your skin, it's skin-loving fragrance. So the stick, the formula that we created is truly skin-loving, hydrating, and beautiful. No parabens, no phthalates, no ethylates. It's clean. Hard to say it's natural, but it really sits and lives on your skin beautifully. So imagine, and this isn't in the market yet, and I haven't decided who's going to take it because I'm in the process, but that's the stick. So let's say the stick comes in 6 cents. Then you have a balm. This is another format, and it's all colored, right? So now you can see fragrance. That's the value of TikTok, because everything I do is through the lens of the producer, director. I wear a lot of different hats. You have to, right?
This because I can just put this in my bag. Use
Yeah. And you can have
fragrance person. You know,
It smells
I
delicious.
struggle when I travel. When you go out to
Well, that's the whole point. So any brand in the world can take Sparty and put it in their brand, because everything we do is like what you guys do. Everything's customizable, personalized. So this is a serum, and this is a gorgeous hydrating serum. Would you like to try it? Okay, we have the camera. We have the camera podcaster producer. I hate to leave the people out.
This feels really nice.
So, this is like a pure, Caroline says, it's a pure parfum serum. And, instead of a beautiful alcohol-based spray, you still can have that. Everyone will, and everyone should, and that it should sit on your vanity and look and be fabulous. But this you can take with you. And this is insane. This is our shimmer. So this is a shimmer product that you put on your skin, but remember, it's all fragrance first. Doesn't that look beautiful? So this is fragrance for your skin, and that's how we present it. So as the category is evolving, and as people are getting more excited about new forms, new formats, the fragrance mist is super huge. There's a lot of D2C brands that have had incredible success. They've built great communities around influencers, tastemakers, and they've really nailed it on the collections, right? It's no more just a scent, it's a collection of fragrance. And now you can get it in all of these forms. So this is one brand that we have that we're working on. Now, the other piece to my business is because we're B2B, I partnered with a company called XJ Beauty, and the owner is a contract manufacturer. So instead of having 3 layers, if you are interested in working with Scentinvent and our innovations, we work directly with our factory. We do full turnkey solution. You send us your fragrance, we put it in our formulas, we come up with the new packaging, and any person that comes to us, it's a different product because it's a different fragrance. Right. So I always say I want to be the zipper of the fragrance industry. The zipper. Doesn't everybody need a zipper? Everybody needs a perfume stick. Everyone in the world needs a perfume stick. By 2030, if you don't have a perfume stick, you are missing the boat. Because, and here's the other thing, everybody likes to test. I've tested this for 10 years. This is proven. It's proven because now 10 brands have sticks or solids. Solids have always been popular. They never, Cleopatra, I just saw Cleopatra's tomb. It was very monumental for me. I was at the British Museum, and I said to my son, oh my God, there's Cleopatra. She was a huge proponent of solid perfume. They would mix it in there, and she was known for that. So it's not like, we came up with this big idea, but we've evolved the idea. We've reimagined it. My grandmother once sent me a little pot. It said, Cleopatra's doing bombs. She's like, you better hurry up. That was 10 years ago. I better hurry up and wait for 10 years by the time anybody ever takes any of my stuff. It's like the running joke. They crack up. But look, you said you saw me with one product. And here I have 5 collections that are all ready to go. This is called Snack Scent. It is the cutest thing. These are based on TikTok trends. So remember, I can imagine anything. I make things up. How amazing is that? These smell like the most famous dessert scents on TikTok. Pistachio.
That is awesome. And you're right, when we first met, it was just the one party, and look how far
Right.
you
So that's what an entrepreneur does. That is the evolution of the true spirit of an entrepreneur, because there's so much hardship and challenges and difficulty and pain points and a lot of devastation and a lot of tears through the journey. But when you finally get to the other side, and it never ends, there's always going to be that. You know, that's the path you choose.
You know, too, like your clients, you know, I akin it to us too. And when you were talking, it made me think a little bit about our journey, right? And your clients are choosing to work with you because A, these wonderful products and ideas that you've come up with. B, you do what you say you're going to do. But C, maybe most important, they get to hold your hand through this journey as they go through with all these ups and major downs, because you've done it, because you've fallen and gotten back up so many times. They can trust the fact that you are going to illuminate this path they're walking on versus them.
Illuminating it.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, there was a time when I was really not happy, and everyone's like, "Oh, stay away from her." Because, you know, I'm very heart on sleeve. I'm not phony. And when I show up, I show up full as a human, but, you know, it's tough. And everybody in the business, they know. Anyone who's done this, they know how hard it is and what it really takes. And you don't know unless you do it. And I do feel like I can help people and, you know, say, look, you know, this isn't right. And I have people that do that for me, quite frankly, daily. You know, oh, you know, you need to think about this, or what are you doing? You should only be focused on this. And, you know, I listen and I internalize, and sometimes I do what I want anyway. But because you're the only one that can navigate your boat, right? You're the captain of your own ship. So with all the brilliance and help, which is very important, and then sometimes you sit back and you say, okay, everybody said X, you got to listen, because they only want the best for you. And that's what true friendship is, and that's what I've created in this industry with so many wonderful people that I feel grateful.
Let's talk about that for 1 second. So you've gone through so many ups and turns and reinventions and keep moving forward. How do you stay resilient?
Oh God, I don't know. I couldn't.
Just do it.
It's not even a question. It's not even an option. It's not even, well, sometimes you have to really take a step back to really make hard decisions. For me, I take a long time to make those hard decisions, and when the decision's done, that's it. There's no turning back. I'm not a go back. I'm not a flipper. I did that. Once I'm done, and when I know the course of my direction. You know, people say fail forward fast, because it does cost a lot of money, and you have to be careful with your resources when you're an entrepreneur. You don't want to spend a lot of money. This is 10 years of work. Took a long time, a lot of money, but I saw real proof points. And the people in the industry that believe, and the retailers, and like everybody, if that many people believe in what you're doing, you keep going until you get there. Otherwise, they wouldn't waste their time. Why would anybody waste their time? So, you know, it's the evolution, and it's, you know, how do you stay resilient? My husband makes fun of me. That's how I stay resilient. He's like, I'm still waiting. When can I retire? And when am I going to get a yacht? I'm like, yeah, keep dreaming. I mean, you know, at some point people don't want to hear it anymore. It's like, okay, but
you don't give up. I mean, that's...
No, because you can't give up. Would you give up on your child? No.
That's right.
It's not. If the market didn't want and didn't guide you, you have to be smart. I mean, you can't live in a bubble. If 10, 15 brands weren't out there, if I didn't have 20 customers in development, right? You know, there were moments when I said, is this going to be real? Because so many partners of mine didn't work out, or their business didn't flourish, and I had to make a decision. Is Abby going to keep going and set it on fire, or am I going to move on? But I couldn't, because I know in my core what people want. I've interviewed thousands of people. So that's what keeps me resilient and keeps me going and energized and excited. And, you know, then I have other brands that I advise. I have other things in my orbit, that my children, my friends.
You know, one day, I can't imagine it, but you will downshift and want to retire or step away from all this so you can focus on grandchildren and your children and all the great things.
They're going to come with me.
What about, I know you're passionate about mentoring and mentorship. You know, we talked a little bit about community and the CW and Beauty Matter and all the great folks in our industry. What would you say to, 21-year-old you that's working at a PR firm right now that has a dream of their own that they want to get into this whole world? What would you say to them?
So that's so funny because I'm actually doing a mentorship programming at the 92nd Street Y with a lot of amazing women that aren't actually in this industry. And I love to meet people that are in other industries because I learn a lot too. And they get very excited because beauty and fashion and fragrance is so glamorous, so they all think. So I really get to steer their careers in different avenues. But because I've done so many different things over the course of my life, my whole position in the market is just try it, because you won't know unless you try. I have so many people who say, I have an idea. I have so many people who want me to be their partner because they've seen me do it over and over again. And I'm like, just do it. Start small, make a test, order a product, find a partner, test it, ask people in your family, and just do it, because you will never know. I'm a big proponent of just making it happen. And today you can pretty much do anything. You gotta be scrappy, you gotta get creative, you come up with a budget, and then, it might lead you to your next opportunity. You never really know what's gonna be. Making a living is one thing. You go to a job, you make a living. That's important. I always say, my kids, you have to do good in the world. You have a job, you make a living, you want to invent stuff, you want to be an entrepreneur. That's your side hustle until it becomes a hustle, and you got to give back. Those are my three things. You're always giving back. I'm always, every day, in one way or another, small, big, whatever I can do, because that makes you a whole person. It's never, we're not, you have your professional life, you have your personal life, but you're one human, and humans live with their heart. And that's how I live my daily life. I don't know any other way. That was my upbringing. So I am proud of that.
Well, Abby, Wallach, thank you so much for being here with us today. Really
So much
appreciate it.
fun.